الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد وبارك وسلم اللهم بارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد وبارك وسلم اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا وزدنا علما رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. My dear respected brothers and sisters in Islam, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Alhamdulillah, once again we have our weekly question and answer session, and some brothers and sisters have already sent forth their questions. We'll try to get through them as many as possible, inshallah. And those that are listening, if you have any further questions that are coming to your mind, you can send it on the YouTube chat, or also you can text it to 630-360-2373. 630-360-2373, inshallah. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. So one question that came in is, what is the ruling for touching and holding books and documents other than the Quran that have Quranic ayat written on them without wudu? For example, manzil, dua books, hadith books, fadail amal, muntakhab hadith, etc. So the basic ruling is that if there is a book that is totally 100% Quran, it is a printed Quran, most definitely that cannot be touched without wudu. The cover, the binding, the margins, the sides, wherever the Quran is not printed as well. The entire book cannot be held, cannot be touched without wudu. Then moving forward, if we have any book that is, for example, a translation or tafsir of the Quran with a few notes on the sides, few additional notes, but majority is still Quran. It cannot be much of a tafsir because the words of the Quran are greater than the words of non-Quran. So I would rather say some selected vocabulary is translated on the sides. This happens in many Arabic editions where only the hard words are translated on the margins. So if you have such a book in which the Quranic content is greater than the non-Quranic content, again, it will be still impermissible to touch it without wudu. It would still be impermissible to touch the entire book without wudu. Then you move forward and you have such a book in which the non-Quranic content is greater than the Quranic content. That would be dua books, hadith books like Fadail Amal, Muntakhab Hadith, or any tafsir where the explanation of the Quran is going to be more words than the Quranic words. Such a book, you can hold it and touch it without wudu, even though it's much more preferable to have wudu. But technically, it is permissible to hold it without wudu. And the only thing you have to make sure is that you don't touch the actual verses with your finger without wudu. You can hold the book, you can turn the pages, and you can touch the non-Quranic content, the tafsir, the other wording with your fingers, but you should not touch the Quranic ayah itself without wudu. And then if there is a book that has no Quranic content whatsoever, has hadith, has fiqh, aqidah, other Islamic subjects, or other books, of course they can be touched without wudu. Again, it is always recommended for touching any book of Islamic sciences that a person is in a state of wudu. Then the next question is, last week it was mentioned it is halal to day trade stocks as long as the business is halal. I might be overthinking it, but I just want to double check. Most companies nowadays have debt and pay interest. So is it okay to buy and sell their stock as long as the business is halal? Also, many halal business companies have some income from interest, so can we disregard that? Yeah, if the business is paying interest, then that's not going to affect. However, if they have income from interest, then we should look into the statements of that company, how much percentage of their income is from interest, and that would not be permissible. That percentage of the share price that you will have of the purchase and sale price, the profit you made, that percentage would not be permissible. The percentage of the income of the company through interest. That is a very good question. Follow up. Another question is that why do some scholars say it is forbidden for women to visit the graveyard? And if they do, then there's something mentioned here which is not correct in the question further on. I don't want to repeat it online. So basically, in the beginning, Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam had forbidden the women to visit the graveyard. However, later on, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam gave the permission. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam granted permission, and he said, "Kuntu nahaytukum, kuntu anhaakum an ziyaratil qubur, ala fazuruha, ala fazuruha." He said, "I used to forbid you from visiting the graves. Now you should visit the graves. You should visit the graves." So the permission is granted for women as well. The only thing is, they should not visit at such a time where they start rubbing shoulders and elbows with men, and when it is crowded with men, and that typically happens at the actual burial time. So when the body is being lowered into the grave, and the men are reciting the dua around the grave and filling the dirt into the grave, they can remain at a distance, and after the men disperse, then they can come close and pay their respects at the grave. That is permissible. Next question is, why are COVID-19 fatalities considered shaheed, similarly drowned, or those who died in an airplane crash? It is because Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam has mentioned that that those who die from sudden deaths, from a calamity, from accidents, from crashes, those who drown and die, and those who die when a plague or an epidemic spreads in the community, and they did not run away from the area, they remained patient and stayed at home and accepted the decision of Allah Ta'ala, they all will be granted the reward of a shaheed. Of course, it is not at the same level as the one who dies fighting in the cause of Allah. That is a higher level shaheed. However, these people will also be rewarded as has been promised in the Hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And then another question is, subhanallah, this is a very long question here. I am a practicing Muslim. I live in California. I need help with the ruling of divorce in Sharia. So this is a very detailed question about, subhanallah, I'm going through this question right now. This would, I don't think this is, the nature of this question is such that we cannot be answering this online with all the audience, because we need further clarification regarding how the talaq was issued, what statement was given by the husband. Does he agree to what you are claiming, or does he have a different story? Are there any witnesses to what he uttered? So for this type of detailed talaq question, I would recommend that you call the office, and inshallah I'll leave your number, and we can get back to you personally and help you, sister, with this talaq issue, because you need a personal consultation with the Mufti to help guide you in this predicament, because there are certain issues which we have to sit down and listen to what the wife has to say and what the husband has to say. Are they on the same page, or are there different stories? Are there any witnesses? Get a written statement from the husband. Exactly what did he utter in anger? Did he say the talaq words 1 time, 2 times, 3 times? How many times? Did he use the past tense? Did he use the present tense? Did he use the future tense? All of these will have different implications on the masala. When we were doing the Mufti course, our Mufti, head Mufti, who was teaching us and training us back in 2000, in about 2, he told us that remember that talaq issues and mirath issues. Mirath are issues of dividing up the inheritance of a person who is deceased, dividing up the estate. These you should never take it on the fly. You need to sit down and get all the information. So that is why this sister here, I would recommend you to, inshallah, either call the office and make an appointment, or you can send your question to the email address questions@masjidds.org, questions@masjidds.org, and one of the scholars here at Dar es Salaam will get back to you. I do not want to ignore any question, but I cannot answer it now. Another question that we see here is masjids are reopening and my elderly mom lives with me. I'm afraid of her getting COVID. Can I avoid going to Jummah? I work at home and don't go out. So, subhanAllah, at this point, I would say that the scholars have a consensus on the fact that Jummah is farad, Jummah is an obligation. This is a commandment of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Quran in very clear, explicit terms, unambiguous terms. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu, O those who believe, إِذَا نُودِيَ لِلصَّلَاةِ مِنْ يَوْمِ الْجُمْعَةِ, when the call is given to attend the Jummah prayers, when the adhan is called out, فَاسْعَوْا إِلَى ذِكْرِ اللَّهِ, then hasten to the dhikr of Allah, وَذَرُوا الْبَيْعَ, and leave all transactions. ذَلِكُمْ خَيْرٌ لَكُمْ إِن كُنتُمْ تَعْلَمُونَ, this is better for you if you but knew. So, hastening to the call of Allah and responding to the mu'adhin at the time of Jummah is a farad, it's an obligation, and we cannot abandon it because of fears of something which is hypothetical, that we might catch a disease. Now, there are a couple of different recommendations. One is that if you have tawakkul on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and at the same time does not mean you discard the means, you wash your hands, you sanitize your hands, you wear a mask, you continue to maintain social distancing. All the masajid are practicing that. You don't touch anyone, you don't shake hands with anyone, you don't hug anyone. And like at Dar es Salaam, we maintain that. You come in, you go straight to your place of prayer where you are 6 feet away from everyone else, and after prayer you leave. Then you would fulfill your obligation and you have adopted every means to protect your family. If you are sick, you are showing symptoms, of course, then you are exempted from coming to perform Salah. The Prophet ﷺ has said that sick people are exempted from praying Salah. But if you are not sick, then because you have a fear you may catch the sickness, that would not exempt you. However, there is just one point that I would like to remind you and the listeners as well, that because of the circumstances, it is permissible that you get a few people together to lessen the chances of contamination and, or of infection. And if you have a number of 4 or 5 people, minimum 4, 5, 6, 10 people, less number of people than in the masjid, you gather together at someone's home or workplace and you perform Jummah, then that Jummah will be valid as well. If you're very scared and you don't want to go to the masjid, then you can perform Jummah, just like normally as well. There are many hospitals where the doctors, residents, staff, they pray Jummah, schools where the students perform Jummah, different business places where the Muslims get together and pray Jummah. So you can do that as well with lesser number of people than they would be in the masjid. That is another option for you. But don't miss out on the Jummah altogether and pray Dhuhr. I would not recommend that. Inshallah. Okay. Then we have there's another question about looking for advice for a person is trying to get married. And is there any wazifa, any dua? I heard about reading Surah Rahman. Is that authentic? So there is one dua that is in the Quran, Surah Al-Qasas, ayah number 24. This is a dua that Musa alayhi salam made, and after making this dua, shortly afterward, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made it easy for him to get married to the daughter of Shu'aib alayhi salam. In Surah Al-Qasas, ayah number 24, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reveals or the dua that Musa alayhi salam made, the Nabi Kalimullah Musa alayhi salam. Rabbi inni lima anzalta ilayya min khairin faqir. O my Lord, O my Rabb, verily I am in great need for that goodness that you send down on my way. I am in need of that khair that you send down towards me, to me. And a little while after this, if you read the next few ayahs, you will see that Shu'aib alayhi salam, who's a great prophet, the Khatib al-Anbiya, he called Musa alayhi salam and spoke to him, and he heard his story, and he says, Inni uridu an unkihaka ihdabnatayya hatayni. Verily I want to, and I intend to marry to you one of these two daughters of mine. So shortly afterward, he got married, alhamdulillah. And if you recite this dua with ikhlas, with sincerity, trusting in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and you recite it after every prayer, then inshallah Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will make it easy for you to get married to a righteous spouse, a loving, caring spouse who will benefit you in this dunya and also in the akhirah. And we all make dua for you as well. The next question that I see here is that just had a question about a family member. She is bedridden since 3 months. May Allah make it easy for her. May grant her afiyah. And has difficulty remembering the number of rakats she offers during Salah. Is there a dua or method which will ease her forgetfulness? Jazakullahu Khairun. So, first of all, we make dua, Allah Ta'ala grant afiyah and grant and salama from the pain and difficulty for this elderly family member. And asking for any particular tips, then we should note that using both hands in Salah will break the Salah, which is called amalul kathir, excessive movement. However, if you use just one hand, it's permissible. So I'm assuming this person is performing Salah sitting in the bed or laying in the bed, because you mentioned that she's bedridden. So if she has, for example, 4 little pebbles, and then while she's praying, after every rakat, she takes 1 pebble and moves it onto the other side, right? And and then she moves the 2nd pebble after the 2nd rakat, 3rd pebble, 4th pebble, like a tasbih. Just like you use, these small little tasbihs, and that instead of having 100 beads on them, they only have 7 beads to remember which circumambulation a person has completed in the tawaf. When a person has to perform the Hajj or Umrah and has to go around the Kaaba 7 times, or between Safa and Marwa 7 times, you might have seen these little bracelets that have 7 beads on them. So likewise, you can take 4 stone, 4 pebbles, 4 beads, for any item, and then you can use one hand to keep on putting them aside, and whenever you forget, you can look and see how many pebbles you have passed over, which indicate the completed rakat. And you try your best. If you forget, inshallah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is forgiving, the merciful. He knows that you are going through sickness. La yukallifullahu nafsan illa wus'aha. Allah ta'ala does not take anyone to account beyond their ability. Next question is, kids these days love listening to music. They claim it relaxes them. Is listening to music allowed in Islam? So this is something forbidden in Islam. The Prophet ﷺ has said that al-ghina yumbitu an-nifaq fil qalbi kama yumbitu al-ma'u zar'a. Music makes the hypocrisy grow in the heart the way water makes the crops grow. The way water makes the crops grow. When the rain falls down on the crops grow, the roots become strong. Likewise, hypocrisy and nifaq grows in the heart and replaces iman. This is what happens through music. And the harms of music are something which are well known and documented. It decreases one's spirituality and one's ruhaniyah, and darkens the heart. It increases one's lust and desires. The lyrics of the songs are most of the time have bad content that can range from just increasing one's passions and desires and towards haram and disobedience, and it can also go all the way to extreme ideologies and satanic worshipping, etc., and all kinds of harmful ideas, harmful beliefs. And many times the music is associated with dancing, and this also is exposing of the awra and the nakedness of men and women, which should not be seen. And these all increase one's shahawat and desires towards haram. So that is why it's something we should abstain from, seek Allah Ta'ala's protection from, try to enjoy the recitation of the Quran, nasheeds without music, praises of Allah, praises of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, Islamic songs. That will be something we can use for entertainment instead. Next question is, what is the fiqhi ruling on reciting the Quran individually for the deceased, not in group or congregation? Jazakullahu Khairun wassalam. Yes, it is permissible to recite the Quran and make the niyyah after reciting the Quran. Allahumma awsil thawaba hadhihi tilawa ila ruhi fulanin. O Allah, allow the reward of the recitation of the Quran that I just completed to reach the soul and ruh of so-and-so. Make this dua after reciting the Quran. O Allah, allow the thawab of this tilawah to reach the ruh of so-and-so. And it is permissible. Only thing which is impermissible is when we appoint from our own side specific days, like the third day after the person dies, you have to make a khatam, the tijwa, or what is known as the barsi, which is the annual anniversary date of the death, where there is a proper function that you remember the anniversary date and everyone makes a khatam al-Quran, and then you have to feed everyone. And if you do it on this date, you will get more reward. If you don't do it, you will not fulfill the right of your deceased parents. This type of concept is an innovation and not proven from the Quran and Sunnah. The Prophet ﷺ and the Sahaba radiallahu anhu, they never celebrated the anniversary of anyone's passing away by making a khatam on that date in particular. So if you believe on that particular date there's additional reward, and if you don't do so, then you have committed a sin. This is an innovation, a bid'ah. However, making a khatam of the Quran any day and making a khatam of the Quran multiple days, not necessarily on the fixed date, it is permissible and rewarding, both for the one who's reciting as well as, inshallah, for the deceased one. So these are some questions. Okay, moving forward. There is someone who said, Assalamu alaikum, they are from Nigeria. May Allah accept them. Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. To our dear Muslims, brothers and sisters from Nigeria, from all over the world, we welcome you to this program. May Allah Ta'ala accept your listening. Grant us tawfiq to make amal. Okay, another question is, I had recently had an interview for a job where I would be writing software for people to buy insurance and make insurance claims. Would such a job be permissible? Yes, if the actual nature of the software is something which is generic, and then the user is using it for insurances, then it would be permissible for you because you are not yourself engaging. As far as insurance is concerned, it is a gray area. Some insurances are halal, like health insurance and property insurance, etc., because they require driving insurance, car insurance, auto insurance. But one insurance which is definitely haram is life insurance. So besides life insurance, other insurances, you can find a range of fatwa, but there's scope for it to be halal. The only insurance which is 100% haram is life insurance. So the general rule is, if you are doing something which is which has the possibility of being misused by the from the user side, you're not going to get the sin of that. For example, you make knives or you sell knives. or you sell guns even. Now, if someone buys a gun from you and they go and shoot somebody, kill somebody, you're not responsible for that sin, right? Because you sold the knife. The classical example of this is selling grapes. If you sell grapes and somebody makes wine out of it, then you're not responsible for that wine making because you weren't involved in that exercise, in that act. Okay, so likewise with the software, if it could be used to purchase anything and the user uses it to purchase life insurance, you're not responsible for that. The next question is, if a person fasts for a certain number of consecutive days outside of Ramadan, is that considered Sawm al-Dahr, and will it be makruh, or is it only makruh if you fast the entire year? Yes, makruh Sawm al-Dahr is only if a person continuously fasts, as you said, the whole year, months and months together, and doesn't take a break at all. That is makruh. If you fast a few days consecutively outside of Ramadan, definitely it's not makruh. Like the Prophet ﷺ himself used to fast the 13th, 14th, and 15th days of every lunar month. So those would be 3 days consecutively. That would not be Sawm al-Dahr, that would be mustahab and sunnah fast. So consecutive fasts are not makruh, not undesirable, until they continue to extend the entire year without taking a break at all, because then you would lose out the essence of fasting. That would become your nature, that would become your habit, and your body would get conditioned and used to just having early breakfast in suhoor and later dinner in iftar, and it would become the normal status for your body. What is actually more rewarding and more challenging and more difficult is to fast one day and not fast the next day, back and forth. That keeps your body in whack, like it's not synced up. It's one day you're fasting, one day you're not fasting. That's called Sawm Dawood. That is more challenging, more hard, and more rewarding. Fasting every single day actually is not recommended. Next question is, how about reciting and touching Quran and Hadith on the phone and iPad tablets without wudu? Right. This is a very frequently asked question. I believe this question came a little while ago when I was talking about touching the Quran without wudu or with wudu. So the best thing is, when the phone, iPad, or tablet does not have the Quran app open, you can hold it without wudu. If it's in your pocket, you can go to the bathroom. You will not treat it as the Quran. However, when you open the app and the Quran is on the screen, at that time, you will treat the whole phone as a mushaf, as a Quran, and you would not touch it without wudu. You would not hold it without wudu, because the Quran app is now open. And when you are turning the pages, you would turn it with if you use your finger, then you should be in a state of wudu. Unless you're using a stylus, then you can get by without wudu. However, you would not be able to hold the phone or tablet either. However, the best thing is if we have a printed mushaf, to go with that, because it will give you more reward and barakah of holding the Quran in your hands, turning the pages, physical pages, and this is the closest thing that we have to resemble the Quran that was written in the time of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Whereas the phone, it is a distraction. It is a tool that we use for many of our worldly needs, and it has all kinds of filth on it when we have on the same screen the internet showing different things. So it is better that we do not use it. This is in particular when we are in the masjid, we are waiting for Salah, and there are so many Quran available, mushaf available, printed Quran available in the bookshelves, then we still take out our phone. There is no need for that. If we are on the train, if we are at the airport, if we are in transit, and we want to read Quran from our phone, of course that is fine at that point, because you don't have a printed Quran with you. Next question is, subhanallah. Wait. Okay. A husband and wife are staying in one house but not together in one room. Is this valid reason that it's a kind of separation and both are free to choose their life companion if they wish? I'm not sure what you're asking here. Let me read the question again. Assalamu alaikum from Sister Zeenat. Husband, wife staying in one house but not together in one room. Okay, is this valid reason that it's a kind of separation and both are free to choose their life companion if they wish? This is something really strange. I'm not clear what the question is, so please clarify your question. I apologize, I'm not able to understand. Both are free to choose their life companion, meaning, what do you mean by that? So if they are married, etc., it's not clear. So let me move on. Please, if you can rephrase your question in a more clear manner. Next question is it permissible to pray behind someone who does masah over regular socks? I know the view of Malik, Abu Hanifa, Shafi is it's not, but there is the view of Ibn Taymiyyah. As long as you don't see somebody breaking their wudu and making a fresh wudu, and when they're making their fresh wudu, making masah over thin socks, if you don't see that with your own eyes, then it is safe to assume that they had made wudu before wearing socks, and you can pray behind them. If you very clearly see that they are making masah over thin socks, and this is not acceptable according to the majority of scholars, then in that case, it would not be permissible to perform salah behind such an imam, as if the imam's wudu is not intact and complete, then the follower's prayer would not be valid. Okay, next question. Okay. Can the two sunnah of Fudger be prayed with combining Knuffle intention of Tahiyyatul Wudu? You can have multiple combination of niyyah when it comes to sunnah and Knuffle prayers. So you can perform 2 rakat sunnah Fajr, and along with the intention with the fresh wudu, that is Tahiyyatul Wudu. If it is in the masjid, it could be Tahiyyatul Masjid as well. Keep this in mind, that you are not able to combine intentions when it comes to farad, right? This is called tadakhul bayna niyyati. You cannot make tadakhul bayna niyyat, incorporate multiple intentions by performing 4 rakat salah and making the intention that this is 4 rakat farad of dhuhr qada and 4 rakat asr qada and 4 rakat isha qada, all at the same time. You cannot do that. Right. Next question is, if a person has a bank account that earns him interest, what shall he do with interest money? It is a health savings account, and I was unaware that it will be earning interest when I signed up. Yeah, you can give it away in charity to needy people without the intention of thawab, because it is not something that rightfully belongs to you, and you can just distribute it. Okay. Is it makruh to pray Isha after midnight? It is not makruh, but it is undesirable. A makruh like tanzihi, not tahrimi, meaning it is not a major sin. It is permissible to perform Isha up to the time of Fajr, but it is more preferable to perform it in the first half of the night, not in the second half of the night. However, it's still valid. Undesirable, but valid. Okay. Next question is how many times, and that's it. So I'm not sure what that. How many times to recite the Surah Qasas Ayah 24? Yes. How many times to recite Surah Ayah? Yeah, you should recite it. For example, after every Salah, 5 times daily Salah, we should recite Salawat on Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa barik sallim 3 times. Then recite this ayah, Rabbi inni lima anzalta ilayya min khairin faqir 3 times. Then recite Salawat, Allah salli ala Muhammad 3 times. Always, this is a standard practice that we should start with Salawat and end with Salawat and make our dua in between. This is the way we seal our dua for acceptance in the court of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And if you do this practice after every salah, inshallah, very soon Allah ta'ala will grant you a beautiful, righteous spouse, inshallah. Next question, is it permissible to use a gift that you accepted from a person that you accepted from a person when the gift probably is brought from interest income? Yes, very important question. Um, um, so how do you know the gift is probably bought from interest income? You're just saying when, look, the money is, he's buying it from his money. The interest is going into his account, and the halal earned income that he works for is going into the account. It's all mixed up. So it's not specifically that he's buying the gift with the interest money. So taqwa, from the taqwa perspective, if you want to avoid it, that's permissible. But the fatwa is not going to be haram. You can assume it's from the halal income until the interest and the haram income exceeds the halal income. Meaning is more than 50% of the income of the individual is through haram, through selling pork and wine and gamble and lottery tickets, and haram income is greater than the halal income. In that scenario, you cannot accept a gift from such an individual. Somebody, their primary source of income is a liquor store, for example. Then even if they give you a halal gift, they buy some halal chocolates and give it to you, you cannot eat that. You cannot take that because the income is from haram. However, if they have a gas station and mostly all halal things, however, they have some haram products, it would be permissible to accept the gift, and it would be permissible to assume that this item that was gifted to you was bought from the halal portion of the income. Okay? Next question. Are we allowed to listen to music if there are no musical instruments used? I've heard that it is allowed if the lyrics are not bad. If there's no musical instruments used and the lyrics are not corrupting, then it is just like a poetry that is being melodiously recited and sung. That would be permissible, yes. The questions from last week are not being answered right now. We are looking at the questions that are coming in right now. So if there's a question that was not answered, you can ask it again. Okay, what exactly is considered bad? Bad is those types of lyrics which incite a person towards haram, towards forbidden acts, right? Okay. Next thing, there's subhanallah. What about reciting 2 rakat salah and with the niyyah to give sawab to deceased parents and relatives into Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam? Yes, it's permissible. Okay. Next question. Let me go a little bit faster because I see a lot of questions. I'm still going through the YouTube chat, and then on the phone 630-360-2373. We have a lot of questions that came in too. Okay. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Is it encouraged in virtues to fast all of the first 9 days of Dhul-Hijjah? I know there's a virtue in fasting the 9th alone. Yes. The first 10 days of Dhul-Hijjah, the 10th, of course, being Eid, you cannot fast on the Eid day. But the first 9 days you can fast. وَلَيَالٍ عَشْرٍ. These are very auspicious days and nights. وَالْفَجْرِ وَلَيَالٍ عَشْرٍ. Allah Ta'ala swears by them in the Quran. Next question is Mawlid haram. So Mawlid, again, it is one of those things that it is, I believe he's asking about the Mawlid. Mawlid is celebrating the birth of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So there are different concepts of how the birth of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is celebrated in different places, in different cultures. So in certain places, they go extreme. They make huge birthday cakes and say happy birthday ya Rasulullah. They have fireworks, they have dancing, they have men and women mixing together, they have big parades, expend a lot of money in those celebrations. Such things are not from the Sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, nor did the beloved companions of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam ever do such things. However, if you just have a conference where you remember the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, have a seerah conference, talk about the seerah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, like we have an annual seerah conference here at Dar es Salaam, and you remember him throughout the year, but you remember him specifically during the month when he was born, the month of Rabiul Awwal, that would be permissible. So in certain countries, they call it Mawlid, but they do not do anything haram. They remember, they sing some poetry about Rasulullah sallallahu, and they talk about his life, his accomplishments, his characteristics, his beautiful traits. So just a dhikr of Rasulullah sallallahu, remembrance of Rasulullah sallallahu, and remind one another about his sacrifices and how much we should love him, that would be permissible. But the other haram acts would not be permissible. Are there any sources online with reliable explanations on Buhari and Muslim ahadith? Because I know that every hadith shouldn't be taken at face value, and there is usually context behind it. So this is something which needs to be done in the English language. There are sources of commentaries of Bukhari and Muslim in Arabic that I can refer to, because normally I read Arabic sources. I do not read much in English. For example, there's Fath al-Bari and Umdatul Qari. Umdatul Qari has a Hanafi perspective. Fath al-Bari has a Shafi perspective. These are commentaries of Sahih al-Bukhari. Fath al-Bari was written by Hafiz ibn Hajar al-Asqalani, and Umdatul Qari was written by Badruddin Aini, rahimahullah. And for Sahih Muslim, there is a Fath al-Mulhim, the Sharh Sahih Muslim, that was written by Shabir Ahmed Uthmani, and the Takmila Fath al-Mulhim, the completion of that was written by Mufti Taqi Uthmani. And this is a very great contribution to Hadith literature and explanation of Sahih Muslim that was done, particularly Mufti Taqi Uthmani's Takmila Fath al-Mulhim. The completion of the Fath al-Mulhim originally started by Shabir Ahmed Uthmani, which he never completed. However, it's in Arabic. So a detailed explanation of Bukhari and Muslim in English is something which needs to be done. I know there are translations that have been completed, but they are not sufficient, as you yourself mentioned in your question, that they need to be understood in the proper context. So one lecture that takes place weekly here at Dar Salam, which can help you with regards to the importance of the context and understanding Hadith, is Maulana Yusuf Oath, his talk on the scope of Hadith in Islamic law on Friday nights. That is something that I recommend in this regard. May Allah Ta'ala make it easy for the scholars and perhaps our students here at Dar Salam, when they graduate, to write detailed commentaries on Bukhari and Muslim in the English language. Next question, is it makruh to pray in the dark? It is not makruh to pray in the dark. You can pray in the dark. Next question, if I see, in fact, in the time of Rasulullah sallallahu, until the 9th year of Hijrah, Tamim Dari radiallahu anhu is the first one who brought a candle and lighted up Masjid Nabawi. So until then, they used to pray in the dark. If I see dead relatives, one second. I missed it. If I see dead relatives chasing me in my dreams, is this good or bad? Also seeing a snake turning into a cat and then into a girl. So if there are dead relatives chasing you in your dreams, is this good or bad? So maybe you should find out if there's any rights of those dead relatives that remain unfulfilled. If they had any wasiyah, any instructions before they died, and if there's any obligations to the deceased that were not fulfilled, that could be an indication why they're chasing you. And a snake turning into a cat and then into a girl. Snakes normally indicate enemies, so that is something to be aware of. And it is changing shapes. So this is something that you should give sadaqah and seek protection of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala from such an enemy that is changing shapes and coming in the form finally of a girl. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam has said, as-sadaqatu tadfa'ul bala. Sadaqah removes difficulties and hard and calamities. So giving some sadaqah and seeking protection of Allah ta'ala from such enemies would be advisable. Next question, is it okay to sponsor orphans through online charities like Helping Hands organization in Pakistan? Are they legitimate? Once you sponsor a child, they deduct a fixed amount monthly. Jazakallah. So, of course, it is okay to sponsor orphans. provided they're a legitimate organization. I cannot comment on any particular organization because I have not investigated them, so I cannot give my approval. But Helping Hands otherwise seems to be a very reputable organization. So I have no comment though, because I have not particularly investigated them. But you can do your own due diligence. And the only thing to keep in mind is if you are giving zakat, then you need to minus the management costs of Helping Hand. If they say that 10%, 12%, 15%, 20% of the donation goes towards management and salaries and advertisement and rest of the overhead of the company, then that much should be added to your zakat payment. Like you should pay 120% of your zakat. So 20% of your payment would be a donation to Helping Hand, and 100% of your zakat funds would reach the orphans. That is something to be aware of. Many people are not aware of this. If you are giving nafal sadaqah to begin with, it's not for zakat, then you don't have to add anything. The entire thing could be sadaqah. 20% of it goes to Helping Hand, 80% goes to the orphan. Okay. What does blameworthy mean? I'm not sure what this was regard to. Just please keep in mind, if you have a question that's a secondary question relating to a previous question, there's so many questions in between by the time I get to your question. So make your question complete, right? Rather than being a comment on a previous question. If the software is primarily for buying property insurance, is it permissible to develop it for a job? Yes, it would be permissible. Can you please go over what requirements there are in Islam regarding clothing for Muslims? Can we wear Western clothing, and are those more closer to Sunnah than Desi Kulta Sharwa? So, what are the requirements there are in Islam regarding clothing for Muslims? Basically, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says about clothing, yuari so'atikum warisha. Yuari so'atikum warisha. The purpose of clothing is two. It covers your nakedness and it is an adornment. It covers your nakedness and it is an adornment that Allah has created. That is why the dua when wearing new clothing is what? Alhamdulillah alladhi, all praise and thanks to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, alladhi kasani, who has given me clothing to wear. Ma uwari bihi awrati, which I cover my nakedness through it. Wa atajammalu bihi fi hayati, and I adorn myself in my life. So the basic requirement is that it should completely cover the nakedness, and that for a male is from between the navel to knee. That's the bare minimum awra, and for a woman is her body except for her face and hands and feet. So completely covering the body. It should not be so tight that it reveals the form. It should not be transparent so you can see underneath. All right. It should not be so less that the body is exposed. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam has said, "La'anallahu al-kasiyat al-ariyat." The curse of Allah descends on those who are wearing clothing yet are naked. How can a person be wearing clothes yet is naked at the same time? There are three interpretations. One is that the clothing that they're wearing is so less that it is as if they are naked. Second interpretation is that clothing is so tight that the shape of the body forms and becomes visible despite being covered. Third is that the clothing is transparent, you can see through it. Okay, so those are things to avoid. And Western clothing, which is loose fitting and covers the body properly, it is permissible to wear because it does not have any association with a particular religion. If it is something that is like a collar that priests wear, or a cross that Christians wear, or saffron robes that a Buddhist priest wear, if it has a religious connotation, then that needs to be avoided. If it is a general Western clothing, it is permissible to wear. Again, it should not have advertisement for haram things printed on them. It should not have faces of animals. You should not have a advertisement for Budweiser on it, or some haram product, or tobacco. It should, if they're shorts, they have to, for men, it needs to be beneath the knees. Of course, even shorts beneath the knees is not recommended for Salah. Because in Salah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Ya Bani Adam, خُذُوا زِينَتَكُمْ عِنْدَ كُلِّ مَسْجِدٍ. O Bani Adam, when you come to perform Salah, come in a beautiful full clothing and adorn yourself with clothing. All right? So we should not come half naked to Salah. When we're going into ruku and sajda, then our backs are exposed because our t-shirt is so short, things like that. So Western clothing that is long and is completely covering is permissible. And if a person wears the thobes, then it depends on the niyyah. If he does it because it's culturally, there's no reward for that. But if he does it because these are the clothes of righteous people, ziyu salihin, then he'll be rewarded for that intention. To adopt similitude with the scholars and the righteous ones of the past. The external condition is also important. Sometimes people, they misquote and misrepresent the hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam indicated towards his heart and said, "At-taqwa ha-huna wa ashara ila qalbihi thalathan." Taqwa is here, and he indicated towards his heart 3 times. So they say all the taqwa is in the heart. You don't have to wear any particular outward clothing that represents taqwa. It's all in the heart. So the answer to that, the response to that would be that the Prophet ﷺ also made dua, and he said, Allahumma ja'al batini khayran min zahiri wa ja'al zahiri saliha. Oh Allah, make my inside better than my outside. And then he didn't stop there, and he said, make my outside righteous. Zahiri saliha, make my outward condition to be righteous. So to have a righteous outward condition is also a maqsood, objective of the deen. Okay. Next question. Is CBD oil without THC halal? Kindly answer this. A lot of people I know are taking it. It's known to relax the mind and reduce anxiety and blood pressure. Okay. So if it does not have any a drug in it that is illegal and harmful to the body, right? Then it would be permissible. Most of the time, the fuqaha and the scholars and the government, they agree on things in the sense that which things are harmful, but it's not 100%. For example, if the government says that cocaine, heroin, marijuana, and narcotics are illegal, then the Sharia also says they're haram. But then the government nowadays is saying, or it has been saying for years now, that wine is okay, right? Alcohol is okay. What else does it say? It says that marijuana has not become legalized. And what else? Smoking. These things are completely legal. So what does the Sharia say? Just because it's legal doesn't make it halal? No way. For wine, we know for a fact that's very clearly mentioned in the Quran, it's haram, even though it's legal. And so we can't be so simplistic and say that if something is legal, then automatically it's halal. And the scholars would have to look at it. Now, when it comes to marijuana, it's definitely haram. When it comes to this CBD oil, if it has no THC in it, and no intoxicating agents in it, no harmful agents in it, then it should be permissible. Next question is, can parents recite Surah Al-Qasas for their kids to find spouses? Yes, the parents can recite it for their kids. However, if the kids are of marriageable age, they should recite it themselves, right? They should recite it, the parents can recite it as well. But the one who has to get married, let them start making the dua for themselves. Next question, if a person has prayed farad already, and he sees a person come late and wants to pray in Jamaa, can he join him but make niyyah for his sunnah while the person leads as the niyyah for farad? Yeah, this is possible. However, you cannot do this after Fudger. Why? Because after Fudger, there's no Knuffle Prayer until after sunrise. You can do this for Dhuhr. You cannot do it for Asr again, because after Asr, no Knuffle Prayer. You cannot do it for Maghrib, because there's no 3 rakat Knuffle Prayer. And again, you can do it for Isha. So bottom line, you can do this after Dhuhr and after Isha. You cannot do it after Fajr, after Maghrib, after Asr and after Maghrib. For 3 prayers, you cannot do that, and 2 prayers, you may do that. Next question. Reading whole Quran per week or monthly can be done. Then why some tasqih or ayat to recite for some specific purpose when whole Quran has been as blessings words? Okay, so subhanallah, reading whole Quran per week or monthly can be done. Then why specific ayat for specific purpose? Because subhanallah, you can always recite the whole Quran, and not always you can, but you must and you should recite the whole Quran. الَّذِينَ آتَيْنَاهُمُ الْكِتَابَ يَتْلُونَهُ حَقَّ تِلَاوَتِهِ. Those that Allah Ta'ala has sent the Quran, they make haqq of the tilawat of it, they recite it. Reciting the Quran, making tilawat of the Quran, making khatam of the Quran is ibadah. It is a beautiful form of ibadah. It is the best form of dhikr to make tilawat of the Quran. No one is saying don't make tilawat. However, there are particular ayats in the Quran that Allah has revealed as for us to benefit from, and particular du'as that Allah has revealed in the Quran for us to recite. So then we should recite them in particular circumstances. Okay, there's nothing wrong with that at all. So let me give you an example. There is a student of knowledge. There is an ayah in Surah Al-Taha. وَقُلْ رَبِّي زِدْنِي عِلْمًا. So he would recite, he or she, the student, the male or female, would recite this particular ayah, Rabbi zidni ilma, Rabbi zidni ilma, and in their dua. Why? Because they are seeking knowledge. They're a student of knowledge. Oh my Lord, increase me in knowledge. Then there is a dua, for example, Musa alayhi salam, when he asked Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala before he goes to speak to Fir'aun to make his task easy, Rabbi shrah li sadri, oh Allah, expand my chest. وَيَسِّرْ لِي أَمْرِي, make my task easy. وَأَحْلُلْ عُقْدَةً مِّن لِسَانِي, and remove the difficulty in speech that I have. يَفْقَهُ قَوْلِي, so they may understand my words. So if a speaker or a khatib, before he gives a khutbah, or a lecturer before he gives his lecture, he recites this dua, it is for the particular occasion. He makes dua that Allah Ta'ala puts effect in his words and allows people to understand. And if your parents are old, and whether they're alive or deceased, and you remember your parents and their favors upon you, you can make dua that Allah mentioned in Surah Bani Israel, رَبِّ ارْحَمْهُمَا كَمَا رَبَّيَانِي صَغِيرًا. Oh my Lord, send mercy upon my parents the way they raised me when I was young. So all of these different duas, and we can keep on going, they are for different occasions, and that's why they have been revealed for us to utilize them and benefit from reading them. Okay, next question. Okay, this follow-up on the music question. Isn't it subjective what incites a person to do something wrong? Certain lyrics may not incite a person towards haram, but may incite others. Also, what about indecent language? Yes, of course, indecent language is haram. Swearing words is haram, and particularly those lyrics which incite passions towards indecent acts and obscene acts, that would be haram to listen to. Next question. I know I haven't actually gone into the 630-360-2373 today. I'm just going over the YouTube ones for now, and it's almost time for Maghrib. How many minutes we have now? Just 1 minute for Adhan. Okay, so let me quickly get these. I know kids with autism, how to treat this health issue Islamically. We should make dua for them. We need to help them. We need to give a special attention to them. I know a lot of kids with autism too. Where I was imam before, there were some kids used to come to the masjid. We should, as a community, be aware of this. And Mohsen is doing great work in raising awareness for challenged individuals and those who have specific needs. May Allah Ta'ala make it easy for them. Their parents will be rewarded for the sabr and patience they have. If they are loud and disruptive, we should tolerate that because they are sick. Next question, do we have confirmation that Prophet ﷺ was born in Rabiul Awwal? In Rabiul Awwal, yes, but then there's a difference. That he was in the 9th, or was it the 12th, was it the 11th? There are different dates, but he was born in Rabiul Awwal. Next question, can the zakat money be distributed to family members, brothers, sisters, nephews? Please advise. Zakat can be distributed to brothers, yes, sisters, yes, nephews, yes, uncles, yes, aunts, yes, cousins, yes. Only zakat cannot be given to father, mother, grandfather, grandmother, son, daughter, grandson, granddaughter. Straight up, straight down, and spouse. So father, mother, grandfather, grandmother, dada, dadi, nana, nani, they cannot be given to sons, grandsons, and granddaughters. nor can it be given to spouse. Other family members, you can give zakat. Is sajda shukr afdal or 2 rakat salat to shukrana when getting good news? 2 rakat salat to shukr is afdal. 2 rakat salat to shukr is afdal. Do you know any website or person we can refer to get our dreams interpreted? You can send the email to questions@masjidds.org. If we have wronged someone and they're unaware of it, should we tell them if we know it will cause more problems? If you wrong someone, you don't have to tell them how you wronged them. You can just say, if I ever said anything to hurt you, please forgive me. You can just say a generic statement. Okay, what does blameworthy mean? Like I have seen the word written in some fiqh books, for example. If you continuously do something that is makruh tanzihi, it is blameworthy. Does this mean we will get sin? No. Blameworthy doesn't mean sin. It's makruh tahrimi is sinful. Makruh tanzihi is not sinful. Okay, now the azan is there. Azan is finishing actually. It didn't start, it's finishing, so I have to go to the salah. And all of you also need to perform your maghrib salah. Unfortunately, I have to end it right here. A lot of questions I could not get to. Inshallah, we'll try to get to them next week. Wa akhir da'wana alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin.